Welcome to the Biz Doctor Podcast, my love letter to business owners the world over. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, award-winning business consultant and advisor fondly nicknamed the Biz Doctor by my clients. I help business owners who are burning the candle at both ends diagnose what is actually keeping them buried in the day-to-day busy work, and then formulate a treatment plan to adjust their business and team to fit them, so they can take a breath and a vacation and have more fun making a bigger impact than ever. So grab your favorite beverage and your earbuds, and let's dive into our latest episode. Clawing your way back, or white knuckling, two sides of the same coin, both having an underlying current of control. I remember so clearly the moment that I saw this happen in one of my clients. It was like his body was possessed by another. He went from being really excited to get out of the trenches and focus on what we call his big three. You know, the three things that are his unique abilities and what he really enjoys in the business, to suddenly trying to stick his fingers back in every part of the proverbial pie. Suddenly, the team and business were thrown into chaos and whack-a-moling again after months of smooth sailing. So why did this happen? Well, that, my friend, is exactly what we're going to talk about on today's episode. Welcome back to the Biz Doctor Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, and today I'm going to share with you the three things I see standing in the way of most business owners having the true entrepreneurial freedom that comes with getting out from under your business and out of the weeds. We've either been there ourselves or known a fellow business owner that has, wanting to be free of their business, but then having an existential crisis of value when we have less stuff on our plates. This is generally when business owners morph into what my friend Cameron Harold calls seagull leaders. You know the ones I'm talking about. The ones that swoop in mid-project, shit all over everything, and then fly away, leaving the team in chaos and covered in crap. So why does this happen? Well, let me put on my neuroscience hat and 12 years of experience to shed some light on this. First, it happens because so often as business owners, we wrap our identity not just around our business, but the doing in our business. Most of us feel like if we aren't quote unquote busy, then our value to the business just isn't there. When we inch our way out of the day-to-day, suddenly we get this unsettled feeling of being, as one of my clients said, useless. I want to actually share a quick story to illustrate this. A few months ago, I was in a quarterly planning meeting with one of my clients, going through their scorecards. I'd recently come in as fractional COO, and one of the things that I do is clarity around roles and expectations and accountabilities with one of my favorite tools, our scorecard. And I remember we had done all of the business partner scorecards, and we had just finished this particular CEO's one. And as someone, whose degree is in neuroscience, but also can read body language pretty well, I noticed that as we wrote down his list of accountabilities, his body language was suddenly changing and morphing and becoming more and more closed off. And then at one point, he got out of his chair, walked to the front of the room, right in front of the screen, and just stared at his scorecard, crossed his arms, and I could just see this shift go across his face. And I said, "Hey, you want to tell me what's happening right now? Like, what's going on in that mind of yours?" And he said, "I just can't wrap my head around that I only have a few things on my scorecard. Like, it doesn't seem like enough. Are you sure that's enough? Should we add more? This is making me very unsettled to only have these few things, like to see how little is on here." And in that moment, I had to obviously let him feel those feelings, but this isn't too abnormal. When we suddenly feel like we've gone from having so much to do and being so involved to now not having as much, it can feel like there's just not enough. And it's actually ironic when you realize that the business doesn't need you to run it the way that you've been running it, and you actually have the freedom you've been wanting. Your first thought is, "I'm useless," or questioning your value because there's fewer things on your docket, rather than luxuriating and making it to the top of this mountain and soaking up the sun. And I've seen it time and time again that we forget about or put too little weight on the institutional knowledge and years that we've put in, and put so much weight on the day-to-day doing. To further illustrate this, one of my favorite analogies or stories that I was told many years ago has to deal with an assembly line. So the foreman of this manufacturing plant called an expert in because the assembly line went down and they couldn't figure out why. So this expert comes in, doesn't say much, just looks around, a few nods, how they're diagnosing. Then he takes out a hammer, hits it in one place, and all of a sudden the belt jumps to life. So he writes out a bill. I know I'm dating myself. This is back when bills were handwritten. Writes out the bill, gives it to the foreman, and the foreman reviews it and is in an instant uproar. He's like, $10,000? You were here for 5 minutes. I'm going to need an itemized receipt. So the expert, being an expert, crosses out the $10,000, says, hitting the belt with a hammer, $1. Knowing where to hit the belt, $9,999. And I love this story because it really hits home some of our biggest value as business owners, which is our institutional knowledge, the years of blood, sweat, and tears that we've learned our craft. Really, truly, when we think about this, if you're thinking about maybe how things are getting offloaded off your plate and maybe you're not having as much quote unquote value in the business, remind yourself that you built this business. You put in your time, the blood, sweat, and tears, and now you're the expert with the hammer. The second part of this is so often we've built our life to fit around our business rather than fitting the business around our life. So more often than not, we have no idea what to do with the free space that's about to come our way because somewhere along the line, we forgot to figure out what we would do when we actually had that space and time. I see both of these happen in just about every client I work with. So I encourage you to take some time and think about your value outside of quote unquote time for money or your to-do list. And take it a step further and start building the life you want and vision you have for when you're out from under your business. That way you'll be less likely to swoop in. Because another fun fact is bored business owners burn down businesses. That's a story for a different day. The other reason I see business owners struggle to give up control is that subconsciously you don't trust the team you have to operate without you. Now, sometimes this is a founded fear because you don't have the right team to run things autonomously without you day to day. Again, another topic for another day. But more often, I see this as an unfounded fear that you've never really tested because you were unwilling to, you guessed it, let go. Now, it might sound like a chicken or the egg scenario, and you're right. But sometimes what your business needs most is to have you do what we COOs like to call a 2-week stress test. It's a 2-week span where you take your hands off the business. You put the duct tape down, step away from Slack, maybe breathe into a paper bag while you let your business run without you. Now, I know I might have just made those of you listening nauseous with the suggestion, but hear me out. Just like building a house from the ground up, the only way to test the plumbing and electric is to turn on the water or the breaker. It's hard to see the leaks or what's not working if you never turn it on. It's even harder to see it once you've put drywall and paint. The same is true for your business. If you really, and I mean really, want to know what it is going to take to get you out from underneath your business, then take 2 weeks, heck, even 1 week, and let it run without you. You will get some very unique and helpful clarity around your concentrated risks and just how much is in your head versus dispersed to your team where they can use it. And last but not least, to trust your team, you have to both decide to trust them. Like trust, I know it's tricky. Some people argue that trust is earned. I'm a little bit contrary that I say trust is given. So the more you trust them, the more they will trust themselves. So in addition to trust, you also have to have clarity around the roles because that is going to remove any ambiguity or hesitation out. When you have the clarity on who's doing what and the right butts in the right seat, then that is when magic happens. Before we dive into the next bit, I want to take a second to share with you something that I've seen drastically change businesses and teams for the better. Imagine waking up every morning with a team that knows exactly what is expected of them and how to achieve success without you having to micromanage them. Imagine how much time and dollars you will save by hiring the right team member from the start. Not to mention getting the most out of every current member of your team. That is what's possible with our tried and tested tool, the Golden Key Scorecard. The scorecard is a simple, impactful, and fillable tool for managing your team, ditching inefficiency, and I guarantee will help you stop playing whack-a-mole chasing team docs all over the place. It's as easy as filling out a form. If you want to get out from under your business, shifting from business operator to business owner, and take your business to the next level while reclaiming your time, then our Golden Key Scorecard is just the ticket. Our scorecard provides the time-tested framework and process to get you and your team out of the weeds and into a well-oiled machine that can scale without you. It's time for you to run your business instead of the other way around. Become an expert in this critical piece of the foundation to creating a high-performing team. Download the Golden Key Scorecard for free at goldenkeypartnership.com/go. Now back to the show. The last sticking point to letting go and not clawing your way back into things or swooping in, I've found, is not being clear about what you really want and what kind of business owner you want to be. I distinctly remember this one client that said to me in an exasperated sigh, "You know what I realized about a week ago?" I said, "What?" He said, "That I didn't really want the title of CEO. I just wanted the autonomy." Now, keep in mind, I actually asked him about this very thing about 45 days before, when the other partners and him were discussing who would run the company. In this case, they were a flat leadership style where it was 3 people trying to simultaneously lead, which, in my opinion, is not a great way to lead a business. You need a leader and somebody who can make those decisions quickly. So we changed it to a hierarchy, and we all decided he was the one. But here's the thing, he couldn't see it until he saw it. Do I think we made the wrong move in having him be CEO? Nope, not at all. But I do think that the shift in holding him accountable to what this new role looked like and mission, all things in his scorecard, caused him to really grapple with all 3 of these things face to face. He went from being very in the weeds to needing to be more high level and direct the team. It's going to be a learning curve, but as long as everybody is aligned and keeps him on track, he can get there. There's also a difference between thinking you know what you want and knowing what you want. And sometimes you gotta launch and learn. Businesses are living, breathing things that can change just like you. So don't be afraid of giving something a go and then saying, "Just kidding, that's not what I want." In this case with the CEO, if down the road we really decide that he's not the best person to lead, that's okay. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. But when he wants to retire, there will be a change in who that CEO is. So take a moment and really get clear on what you want. And honestly, that's how and why a fair amount of business owners decide that they're not the right ones to run the business. There's no good or bad choice or set path for a business owner, which hopefully should bring you some comfort. But what there does have to be to get you the freedom you want is clarity. Oh, by the way, there are 3 types of business owners, and knowing which one you want to be and also what type of business, legacy, or lifestyle will also help you be at peace with giving up control. Again, both topics for a different day. So to bring us full circle, if the thought of you giving up control of your business or doing less in the day-to-day makes you want to hurl or strikes the fear of God in you, then take a moment to get really clear. What kind of life is your business providing for you? What kind of owner do you want to be? Do you have the right team? All great questions. Just take some time. Step away for 2 weeks and see what breaks. And remember, it doesn't have to be black or white or overnight change. You can take it one step at a time as long as you are clear on what your end destination is. All right, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening in. If anything I shared sparked something in you, we'd love for you to share this episode with your friends and fellow business owners. Don't forget to subscribe so you're the first to get notified when our next episode is live and ready for your ears. I'd also love to hear from you. Let's connect. Tag or DM me on Instagram at It's Lauren Goldstein or LinkedIn or wherever you hang out on the interwebs. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time. listening to the Biz Doctor Podcast. Now, I like to say that friends don't let friends WebMD your business. So if you're wondering what your next steps could be, here are some options for you. No matter what, head to the show notes or to my website, goldenkeypartnership.com, for some impactful resources to support you getting out from under your business. That's also where you'll find the links to learn more about our services and how we support business owners, just like you, who are ready to make the successful jump from business operator in the trenches to visionary business owner with more freedom and flexibility. All of that info is on our website, so pop on over to learn more or get in touch. goldenkeypartnership.com. Finally, if you love the Biz Doctor podcast, I'd be so grateful if you would share it with your friends and network and give us a 5-star rating or review wherever you listen to your podcast.
This is Story Studio Network.